Hello, welcome to this playlist, which is devoted to a reading and better understanding of the book Ascent of Mount Carmel by St. John of the Cross. And today we're discussing the 38th chapter of the third book of Ascent of Mount Carmel. In this chapter, St. John begins his discussion of statues and images and oratories. And by oratories, St. John is referring to chapels and churches. A few years ago, I was visiting the grave of a distant relative at a Protestant cemetery. I saw a person walk briskly out of the cemetery's business office and go up to this Viking statue fountain. She touched the Viking's nose and then quickly walked to her car and then drove away. And my guess was that she worked there and this was part of her daily routine. And she probably touched that Viking's nose for good luck on a daily basis. And if she did that, she was putting confidence in the statue. Here's a clip of a kid rubbing the nose of a statue of Abraham Lincoln in Springfield, Illinois, and he was doing that for good luck. It's part of a tradition, and it's so common that people are doing this that you can see the color of Lincoln's nose has been polished to a different hue by all the people that are rubbing it. And once again, people seem to be placing confidence in an image. When we as Catholics feel the need to touch a statue or an image while we're praying, it's usually because we think that by doing that, it's going to enhance the efficacy of our prayers. And when we do these types of things, we're probably doing something similar to the folks who I just cited in the earlier examples. And we may very well be placing more confidence in the statue or the image of the saint rather than in the saint the statue or image represents. And some people might think that by placing confidence in images of saints or other holy things, that it might be different than placing confidence in images of a Viking fountain or of Abraham Lincoln, because the images of saints are holy things. The spiritual person may set his pleasure in rejoicing upon them, meaning images, and when a person says that the objects of his rejoicing are holy, he feels more secure, and he doesn't fear to cling to them and become attached to them in a natural way. And thus, such a person is sometimes greatly deceived, thinking himself to be full of devotion because he perceives that he takes pleasure in these holy things, when perchance this is only due to his natural desire and temperament and attraction toward the images. The pleasure that they set upon their painted adornments is actually stolen from the living reality of the saints. And it's worth repeating that St. John emphasizes that the images in our churches are really good things, and they motivate our hearts to move toward God. And St. John's point is that we should use the images properly when we pray. He tells us that when our senses are absorbed by the images themselves, our hearts are hindered from moving beyond the statues toward God. And he emphasizes that images that are so ill carved take away devotion rather than produce it, for which reason some image makers who are very defective and unskilled in this art should be forbidden to practice it. St. John takes a brief detour in this chapter and mentions that some people who celebrate festivals invent ridiculous and undevout things to intersperse in them, so that they may incite people to laughter, which causes them greater distraction. And what shall I say of persons who celebrate festivals for reasons connected with their own interests? They alone, and God who sees them, know if their regard and desire are set upon such interests rather than upon the service of God. Religious feast days that have been expropriated by secular interests to the point that hardly anybody remembers what's behind the feast days might include St. Patrick's Day, which has become the feast day of drunkenness, or St. Valentine's Day, which has become the feast day of Hallmark greeting cards and Fannie Mae candies, and even Christmas, which has become the feast day of Santa Claus and just commercialism. The devil takes delight in these, because such gatherings bring him business, as they might to a trader. Well, I hope you enjoyed this installment of Ascent of Mount Carmel. We'll be back again in about a week with another one, but in the meantime, please check out my Facebook page, which is linked down below, and please pray for the church.
Oh, I know you see that picture now, Lord, yeah. Up on your mother, up on your mother. Mama, shelf, I know you see that picture now, up on your mother's shelf.